How to break down complex Level 2 Principles of Exercise topics into bite-sized, memorable chunks. Hi, I'm Hayley from Parallel Coaching, and in today's web class, this is designed for your Principles of Exercise exam revision. And what we're going to be doing is breaking down the most complex of exam topics that you'll have within your Principles of Exercise exam, and then chunking them down into smaller, more bite-sized, memorable chunks. And this makes it much easier to be able to retain and recall your information ready for exam day. This web class is designed for you if you are already revising for your Principles of Exercise exam, or if you're just starting your revision for it. So please do grab a pen and a paper and jot down any notes that you take throughout, because we're going to give you some really awesome tricks that will help you memorize certain aspects of that exam. And you'll also find this appropriate for whatever exam you're doing, based on the skills you're going to learn of how you can set up your own mnemonics to be able to chunk any information down into something more memorable. So you might be here with us today whilst in the library, whilst at your office, whilst on your kitchen table, whilst using your phone in a coffee shop, or you might even be doing some sneaky little bit of revision whilst at work. So however you are listening, we're bringing the classroom to you in today's web class. So we're going to cover 4 main areas today. First of all, we're going to look at the formula for learning. So if you understand how we learn, then you can implement this in every way that you choose to learn, not just for this exam. We're also going to keep things really simple. Often things can get way overcomplicated, so we're going to keep it very simple. Then we're going to use key mnemonics that are already in place for your Level 2 Principles of Exercise exam. So you've got some really key examples that you can use specifically for preparing for that exam. Then we're also going to be able to put that into practice. So by the end of this web class, you'll have 5 steps that you can implement in order to create your very own mnemonic for any subject that you wish, or specific areas of that same Principles of Exercise exam. So why do you need to break it down? Why can't we just leave it really complicated? Now, actually, a lot of learners do this. They keep things very complicated. They're trying to learn something by just reading it. They're trying to remember every single word that is on the page and then wonder why they forget it. But whether you're revising for an exam, or whether you actually want to remember this knowledge for when you're training clients, either as a personal trainer in the future, a fitness instructor, you might be doing this as part of your yoga or Pilates, whatever the context is that you want to learn for, like I say, exam or for knowledge, then it is important to be able to chunk information down so that your brain can process it. In the same way, if you were to do some filing, you'd probably organise that in alphabetical order or numerical order, a way that you can then retrieve a set bit of information very easily by having a set sequential order to it. And that is exactly what we're going to do here today, is give you sequential orders so that you can go into your filing system that is your brain and find and retrieve information easily. Now, this is a really, really effective process, so you will be able to use it for lots of different learning things that you'll be doing in the future, but today we're going to be focusing on your Principles of Exercise exam. So let's get started on the juicy bit. This is the formula for learning. So whenever you have a complex topic, it's important to be able to link that to something that we already know, and that's what learning is. So whenever you're learning something very new, for example, driving the car, first time you learnt to drive, you had to relate that to something you'd already done. And if you haven't related that to something you've already done, it becomes very hard to organise all of this new information, and a lot harder to implement and then retain and recall the information. So what we need to do is we need to link our complex topic, our new complex topic, to something that we already know. Ideally that is very simple and very familiar. So lettering, that alphabet works really well. Simple words that we can use as an acronym. These are all the types of simple and familiar objects that we want to relate the complex topic to, in order to really link and consolidate that information into our brains. Just like I said earlier, it becomes like a filing system. So what we need to do is keep it simple. So this filing system is often used mnemonics. So mnemonics is quite a word, isn't it? It's spelled a little bit strange as well. You can see that on screen. However, mnemonics is just a system that such as a pattern of letters, ideas, or associations that help to assist you in remembering something. Now, you probably do this a lot in different areas, and we're going to explore a few of these. Examples of some mnemonics include alliteration, acronyms, diagrams, analogies, and rhymes. So we're going to use a couple of these here today in relation specifically to your level 2 principles of exercise exam. So this is where you need to grab that pen. First of all, alliteration. Alliteration is when the word starts with the same letter. So you have a series of words and they all start with the same letter. That's alliteration. So we have one in principles that we use for the variables of resistance intensity that we call 5 R's and 1 V. Now the alliteration here is that there are lots of words all beginning with R, and the rule for this is there are 5 R's and 1 V. Now these are basically how you can increase and reduce intensity for any resistance exercise. You can use resistance, that's one of the R's. That's increasing, reducing the weight that you put on the machine, for example. Repetition, so you could do more or less repetitions. That will make it easier or harder. These are the obvious ones. Then you've got range of movement. So can you increase the depth of the squat to make that harder? Recovery, so how much rest do you implement in between the sets? That will have a massive impact on the intensity of the exercise that you're doing. And then rate. So rate is the speed of which that you're doing that exercise. So are you doing 2 seconds up, 2 seconds down? Or are you doing it 4 seconds up, 4 seconds down? The speed that you do it makes it harder or easier. And then finally, the V on its own is the volume. That's the number of sets that you will do. So you have 5 R's and 1 V. Now this is a really easy way to be able to remember all of the variables that you have for that resistance intensity. And you can see that by having something to link it to, this rule, this alliteration of 5 R's and 1 V, you only need to remember 5 R's and 1 V to be able to remember all 6 variables, and then you can just jot it down. And it's a really easy way to be able to link that information in your brain. So next we have acronyms. Now acronyms are really, really popular and really effective at being able to really link that information. As part of your level 2 principles of exercise exam, you need to remember 2 different lists. One of them is health related exercise and the other one is skill related exercise and the areas associated to it. So here we've got an acronym to help you remember the skill related fitness. So this is speed, power, agility, coordination, balance and reaction times. Now we've turned this into the acronym SPACER, and you can see this on the screen here. So if you remember the word SPACER relates to skill related fitness, all you need to do then is complete the acronym. It makes it so much easier to remember a list. When you've got, say, 6 things that you need to remember or 5 things, it can quite often be that you lose one of them. So what we've done with the acronym is put it all together. You only need to remember one word and then you can work out the answers from there. So speed, this is the speed that you're doing the movement. The power, this is obviously going to be the mixture of speed and strength that you put behind the movement. So that's power. Agility, coordination, and then equilibrium we've put in for balance, and then R for reaction times. So you then have all 6 that you can remember just from the acronym SPACER. And that's how acronyms work, and they're really, really powerful. Next is diagrams. So when you're working with diagrams, they can really help shortcut. You've probably heard the phrase, a picture paints 1,000 words, and that's exactly what happens with diagrams. If you can associate a diagram to a concept, it will really help you understand and remember and recall that information time and time again. So here we've got the dose response. So this relates to the volume of exercise that people are doing, and the frequency that they might be training. So for example, the benefit is on the left-hand side of this grid, and then the dose is along the bottom. So the dose is how much they do something. So how much exercise are they doing? And you'll notice that to get the most benefits, the dose isn't sort of halfway. Whereas once you then start exercising more and more and more, and the dose increases, the benefits start to drop. And generally that's where injury sets in and overtraining. So there is a sweet spot in the middle. And it's a really easy way to remember this bell curve that you can see. and use that as a diagram. So if you do have this question, you can just think back, remember the diagram, and use that to help answer your question. But also not just your question in the exam, when you're then working with clients later on, you'll be able to consider, are they actually in the sweet spot? And you can even show them this bell curve and replicate it and show them that actually they might be undertraining or overtraining in order to get the most benefits from their workouts. So the next one to look at is analogies. Analogies are really powerful and really, really simple. So analogy is basically where you associate one thing you already know to something that you don't necessarily know, in order to understand it better. And this again works really well when you're applying that information and teaching it to a client as well. So for example, imagine for a second that you've got 3 pots of water on a stove, and as they're bubbling away on a stove or on a hob, you can imagine these 3 pots of water. By the way, this picture is not mine. I do not have that wallpaper in my kitchen. But you've got these 3 different pots all bubbling away. And that's a way of thinking about the energy systems. Each one of those energy systems, aerobic, lactic acid, and creatine phosphate, are a pot on the stove. They are always bubbling away. They are always simmering in our body. We're always using all 3. However, when we're using a specific energy system for a specific demand, we just turn up the heat on one particular pot on the stove. So for example, we start walking or running, we're going to turn up the heat on that aerobic energy system. The other 2 are still simmering. We're just now using even more from our aerobic system. Whereas if we then start really sprinting and building up the lactate, then we might turn down the aerobic slightly and turn up the lactic acid pot a little bit more. So that's the one bubbling and the other 2 are simmering. Similarly, if we try to do a large lift, so let's say like a 1 rep max or a 5 rep max of an exercise, we're going to use our creatine phosphate more. So it's like turning up the heat on the creatine phosphate pot, whereas the other 2 are still simmering away in the background. And this analogy really helps you understand that actually it's not black and white in terms of using our energy systems. We don't just hop from one to the other. In fact, we have this ability to use all of them at the same time. Just our focus is generally more on one than another, depending on what it is we're doing. So these 4 mnemonics are really useful ones that we've already put in place for you. You can use these, you can steal these for your exam and for your future reference. And I encourage you to do those so that you can actually shortcut your way to remembering and recalling information. So let's have a look at how you can put this into practice. How do you create your own mnemonics? And we've got a 5-step process for you to follow. So first of all, you want to choose your complex topic. So for example, that might be like the skill-related fitness that we had. That's quite a complex topic to remember 6 different words. So then you list them all down. For example, this process, you want to list them all down. They're not in a specific order for that skill related, so you can look at the trends across them all. Whereas if it's a process related one, you want to look for a trend across the process. So with that step 2, you look for a trend or any keywords. And then for step 3, you're going to choose your mnemonic. So this might be the alliteration, the acronym, the diagram. You could include a story, but you're going to choose something that is then going to simplify it, but it's something that is very familiar for you. Then you're going to put it all together and practice it over and over and over. Now, the beauty of practicing it, redrawing your diagrams, of rewriting out your acronyms, is that it will ingrain that acronym in your brain. And then come exam day, you're going to have some scrap paper available to you. So what I recommend is, as soon as the invigilator says, "You may now begin," you jot your mnemonics down on this bit of paper. So all the mnemonics that you've set yourself, you might set yourself like 6 mnemonics to remember, jot them down on the paper, and then when that question comes up in your exam, you can then use that almost like having the manual in front of you, because you've got the answers there on your scrap bit of paper. So all you need to do is follow these 5 steps for each area that you feel you want to understand and learn in more detail. Now, the benefit of doing this is that when you create your own mnemonics, you actually consolidate the learning even more. However, This can be quite time consuming, especially if you're on a deadline or you're not sure whether you're learning the information correctly in the first place. So if you don't want to create your own, you can use ours. So we have dozens of mnemonics, and these are all sat within our Revision Mastery series, which we have for Level 2 Principles of Exercise and Health. Now, in this Revision Mastery series, we've mapped all of these mnemonics to your major awarding bodies. So these include Active IQ, CYQ, YMCA and VTCT, and these are the main awarding bodies that fitness providers use in order to take the exam. So you know that whatever you're learning is mapped to what you're actually going to sit in your exam. So it's not going to be something that's extra to what you need to know. Also, they are easy to learn and easy to remember, just like the ones we've already been through in terms of the diagram, the mnemonics that we've already set in place. Easy to learn and easy to remember. Now, as a result of this, it can save you hours of revision time. So rather than going over the same paragraph over and over and over, trying to get it to stick, trying to repeat 6 different items within a list, instead you can just remember one mnemonic, very straightforward, very simple, replicate that a few times on your brain dump, and you retrieve that over and over again. And this saves you hours of revision time and actually means that you recall it for a lot longer later on. We've seen many studies whereby learners that have passed years ago are still able to recall key areas because they've used a mnemonic to help retain that information. And we have dozens of these mnemonics sat within our Revision Mastery series. So let's have a look at our Revision Mastery series in more detail. The Revision Mastery series is made up of 7 video modules. Now, these video modules are HD videos and they make up the entirety of the Principles of Exercise syllabus. So let's have a look at each of these modules that are included. They include the effects of exercise on the body, the components of fitness, principles of programming, how to monitor intensity, health benefits of physical activity, exercise contraindications for special populations, and the importance of healthy eating. And like I said before, these chunks are related to each part within the awarding body. So the leading awarding bodies include all of these within the Principles of Exercise, Fitness and Health exam. Each of the videos is about an hour long, and that means that you get about 7 hours worth of content. Now, alongside that 7 hours of tutorials, you also get cheat sheets. Now, these cheat sheets are downloadable PDFs that basically make your revision easier. So you can test your knowledge as you go and allow you to really consolidate everything you're learning. Alongside all of this, you get our Instant Learning Hacks bonus. Now, this is a video series that will teach you how to learn. It will help you be able to break down key concepts so that you can retain and recall information ready for your exam day. This also includes a weekly revision planner, so you can help schedule and organise yourself around your revision. Another bonus that you have access to is our success guide. This is really interesting because we asked 1,200 learners what the most impactful part of their Revision Mastery series that's helped them pass their exam. And interestingly, we actually had 7 answers. So out of all 1,200, we had 7 answers. And we've condensed these into a success guide for you. It's a few-page PDF, which means that you can literally download it, see what's worked for other learners, and jump straight to that area to really shortcut your way to your success. Now, possibly the most awesome part of this is that you can download every single video module that I've just talked you through to MP3 or MP4. So if you're a very busy person, always on the go, and not really sure whether you'll get access to Wi-Fi very often, this is perfect. You literally download them to your device, so to your phone or to your laptop, and then you can use those over and over without Wi-Fi. But the benefit of it being in audio means that you can repeat it when you're driving the car, when you're cleaning the house, when you're walking the dog, when you're in the gym, and by repetition, you're able to then learn much easier in the timings that you didn't necessarily think that you had for your revision. So alongside all of this, you also get unlimited student support from us. So if you have a question, you're not on your own. You get bonus videos and mock questions so that you can feel confident and prepared for your exam. And all of this is lifetime and instant access, so it means that you can start now. So there is a link on this page. All you need to do is navigate towards that link, click it, follow through, and you will be able to gain instant access to everything that I've just mentioned, and you'll have that for a lifetime. So there is an exclusive offer on this page, so please do go ahead and find that now. If you do have any questions, then you can pop them in the comments box below this video. So if you have any questions, I would love to hear from you on those comments box. So let's recap the aims of what we've gone through today, just to really bring everything back to a conclusion. First of all, we learnt the formula for learning, and then we kept things real simple. Then we learnt some key mnemonics for the level 2 principles of exercise. In particular, we went through 4 specific ones: alliteration, acronyms, diagrams, and analogies. So you had 4 that you could take away today and use straight away. And then we looked at how you can put that into practice. So can you create your own mnemonics in 5 steps, or would you rather use ours where we've outlined them for you in our revision mastery series? Whatever way you decide to do it, I really hope that you incorporate these mnemonics into your learning, because it can make a massive difference to your learning practice, help you retain and recall it much easier. But what I would like to hear from you now is I'd love to hear what you learned today. So all you need to do is, in that same comments box that I mentioned a moment ago, just drop down your comments. What did you learn in today's session? It would be really great to hear from you. Also, if you have any specific questions that you would rather speak to me directly, like I said, my name is Hayley, and you can email me directly at info@parallel-coaching.com, where I'll be able to answer your specific questions directly to you. It's been a real pleasure training with you today in today's web class. Thank you for joining us, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.